Fun is what we're all about. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
What fun at a party!
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Good evening. It's your boy B. And we're here for another episode of Straight No Chaser Talk Radio, where we never dilute the issues, we only serve the hard stuff. And of course, we can't go any further in the evening until we introduce the man and the legend. Man, you love me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Dr. T.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming again this week. We have a special guest, Miss, and I don't want to call you Miss. I want to say Doctor. Even though you're a doctoral candidate, we're going to speak it in existence. Dr. Kamilla Bywaters. She's running for Clark County School District Board of Trustees. District E. So we're excited to have you on today. Good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for inviting me and thinking about me. And I look forward to our conversation and what we can learn and ways that I can grow. So I look forward to really engaging with our community tonight. Thank you so much to you both for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. So I'm going to ask you some tough questions, okay?
Please do.
Okay, so the first time I met you, we were working together at a local high school. And what I found out about you is you are all about kids.
Yeah.
And you're all about their growing and making sure they go to the next step, whether they want to go to the military, they want to go to college, especially having college paid for free for them and their families, and or in the workforce. And you are an advocate for our students, especially in the historic West Side. So I just wanted to make sure that you have a platform to discuss before the election, because it's going to be soon to be Dr. Trustee Bywaters. We can see that, right?
Yes,
So-
all of that at the same time. I receive it. You're going to need to celebrate for real, for real.
Exactly. And we're going to put in the comments where your people in your district, and you can explain what area that is and some of your background, and so people can understand and know more about you, and also they can make a donation to help your cause and help everybody's cause.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go straight into what you're going to be doing. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Again, everyone, my name is Kamilla Bywaters. I'm running for the Board of School Trustees in District E. And like Dr. Marintic said, I started out as a teacher, a special education teacher at Canyon Springs High School. It was early career for me. I fell in love with education because of my dad. My dad worked at Rancho High School for 30 plus years. So when I was in high school, I went to school with him. So he would wake me up every morning, just really showed me the way, and the way that my dad worked with students really inspired me to become a teacher. I was one of those people who self-advised, and I tell people, don't go to college and self-advise. Don't tell yourself what to do. Don't just look at the books by yourself. You need to make sure that your advisor is a part of your experience and your journey. So because I self-advised, I didn't know that there was a such thing as a teacher education program, really. I thought I was going to Howard. I went to Howard University. I was like, okay, I'm going to go be a teacher. And they're like, no, no, you're not. So I ended up taking I did psychology and ended up leaving Howard with a psychology degree when I wanted to be a teacher. And that was on me. So I played soccer at Howard. So my focus was on being a true Howard student. Where's the party? That's where I'm going to be at. And so, it's party, soccer, get to class, So, but it was a great experience for me. I think my psychology background informs everything that I'm doing now. So what I ended up doing was taking an alternate route to licensing. I had moved back to Vegas and there was a teacher shortage. So they were doing alternate routes to licensing for people who had changed career, for people who wanted to change their careers. So I got into that, ended up getting my master's in special ed and started teaching at Canyon Springs High School. And what was supposed to be like the most memorable time of my life actually was the worst time of my life. And because of like the discrimination, retaliation that I experienced along with other teachers, that's what pushed me into educating myself and becoming an advocate.
Okay, so how long have you taught in the school district?
So I taught for 3 years in the Clark County School District. I became licensed when did I get licensed? In like 2008 through the ARO program. And I stayed for 3 years. You had to give at least 3 years to the district because of the program that I went through. And because of the hard time that I was having, I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this is not for me. So I ended up leaving to go to divinity school in around, when was that? 2011 or so. I did my 3 years, went to divinity school because I was actually going to just go. I was like, I'm going to go this route. I'm going to go get a church, be a preacher, and leave all this school stuff alone because it's too much drama for me. And then because I needed to work, and I was like, and I remember my dad always telling me, Kamilla, if you become a special education teacher, you'll always have a job. So when I moved to DC, I taught 1 year in DC public schools. I was like, okay, 1 year's gonna work for me. DC public schools is like night and day compared to Clark County School District.
Yes.
It was a real big challenge in DC public schools. But I learned so much, and I had a really good time with my students. But it definitely is. I'm like, if you can work in DC public schools, you can work anywhere. My students were great, but we did have, some challenges. So after that, I ended up I got a graduate assistant position with the dean of the chapel at Rankin Chapel at Howard University. So I stopped teaching. And then after that, I came back to Vegas again. And during that time, I taught 1 year at a charter school because I was like, well, let me see if maybe I'll try general education. Maybe if I try kindergarten, because normally I've been a high school teacher. My love is high school. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to try some different things. So I really didn't last too long in the classroom because in Clark County School District, I just had too much drama. DC public schools, I was going to the ministry route. And then I tried the charter school. I currently do sub once in a while, but nothing too much, just so I can kind of be in the mix of what's going on and just understanding what's going on with our students and, families. So I think I've done about 5 years teaching full time.
Okay.
And then most of my time has been advocacy.
Okay. So you are also president of LAVOPSI. Can you explain what that organization is?
So the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators was actually started in 1989 in Las Vegas. So we have an ingrained history in Las Vegas. Our organization has had a natural ebb and flow. It's on again, off again, on again, off again. But in 2010, when we were initially having the issues with Canyon Springs High School, Tracy and I and Jennifer Lee, I want to give mad shout out to Jennifer Lee, who's no longer with us.
Absolutely.
But she really started us on this journey of trying to get teachers the help and the support that they needed for the issues that we were having. Jennifer Lee would set up meetings at churches for us.
Yep.
And we meet at her mom's center, right there, the Academic Support Center, right there on Robin Street. And we would just talk about the issues and how we were going to get to a place of solving the problems that we were having. So I do give honor to her for really starting this. And after she passed away, she endured a lot of stress at Canyon Springs, a lot of stress. And, she was a young person who was in she was an assistant principal secretary, which is like a highly sought out position. They love those positions from what I'm hearing. So, and, people the reality was that people were jealous of her in that position, didn't understand how she was able to get that role. So, and please feel free to interrupt because I'll continue to go.
No, this is good. This is good.
So she really started this. And after she passed away, I vowed, because I knew the drama and the struggles that she had at Canyon Springs. Like, she would come into my classroom literally crying because she felt that she was being retaliated against. She wasn't being treated fairly. For example, I will never forget when we had a random snow time. It was snowing in Vegas, like during that time. So this was during like 2011, 2012 time. She was required, no one else was required to come to work, but her assistant principal said, no, you're going to come to work. Experience things like that. And so once she passed away, I vowed, I was like, I have to do something about this. And being educated at Howard University and HBCU, the Mecca, and experiencing the education that I experienced from my professors who poured into me, and my dad and my family who poured into me, it really just inspired me to be a person who wants to fight on behalf of those who have been oppressed and to seek justice. And for me, it was really hard to just go to Howard and be inspired and say, hey, you're going to take on the world. Like, you can do this. And then once we get in the world, it's like, wait, hold up. Y'all didn't say this was going to be like corporate America type stuff.
Yes.
It was a whole different ballgame, because at Howard, we're nurtured. You have the professors who are really there for you, your Black professors. And let me say, our professors at Howard don't even get the credit that they deserve. I'm talking, they are the top researchers in the world, and they don't get all the credit that they deserve, but they come there for students to empower us to be people who believe in liberation, believe in justice, believe in equality. And for me, it was hard to really soak in all of that education and not really do something about it in society. So that's the question was, I didn't get to, this is how LAVAPSI started. We restarted LAVAPSI in 2010. We restarted LAVAPSI in 2010, and the purpose of LAVAPSI is to support the education of all students, but especially students in the Black diaspora. And we also support teachers, administrators. Our mission and vision really shifted depending on what the needs were. We're definitely not an organization that says, oh, that's not a part of our purview. I mean, as long as you're in education and you having a problem, we'll help you, because we didn't get the help that we thought we should have had when we had issues. The Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators, known as LAVAPSI, is an affiliate of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, which is housed in Washington, D.C. So there are chapters and affiliates across several states. I know there's some in Texas, Arizona, Oregon, and what's the other? Canada? Is it Canada? Some other states and countries that have, I think Canada has one. Ontario, it's Ontario, that has the chapters. And in Las Vegas, Herschel was the one who started our Las Vegas chapter. Dr. Linda Young was a part of LAVAPSI, Eva Simmons, and there's more names that I know that I'm not going to remember, but there was quite a few people who were part of the chapter in Las Vegas. And Tracy and we restarted it in 2010.
Okay.
Well, Kamilla, I know you're running. First of all, what does a school trustee do?
Yeah. So a school board trustee hires and can fire the superintendent,
Mhm.
and their role is to supervise their only employee, which is the superintendent.
Okay. And-
They are supposed to have informed oversight over
Sure.
the operations of the district.
Sure. Well, just from a consumer's perspective, and these are some of the questions that I'm sure people are wondering. The system is a majority minority system, as it appears, and often we're hearing information about test scores and those types of things, and they're not being where folks think that they should be. I know that I grew up in Baltimore City, so I know that public schools sometimes get a bad rap. And I guess my question to you is, number one, what would be your vision in terms of improving the image of the system? And number two, I guess reigniting that flame of parental involvement. I know that's something that the teachers really need if they're going to be successful. And as a trustee, how do you get that level of engagement back, or help to get that atmosphere so that the principals and the assistant principals and the teachers can get that level of support that they're going to need to get those scholars where they need to go?
Yeah, this is a great question. People have really been really disappointed with the achievement of the Clark County School District in regards to student achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where we don't give enough credit is to our administrators and our teachers who are actually in schools with students every day, they're the boots on the ground people. So they're able to see from a better angle what exactly our students need.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that their voices are not valued and respected enough to make specific decisions for what's going on specifically at their school. And I think we need to give more autonomy to teachers to review, evaluate, and make sure that they have evidence-based curriculum materials that really support and hone in on the skills that their students need.
As a trustee, when the heat comes, what will be the level of engagement and the support that the administrators will be able to receive when the heat comes? Because it's coming. And people start looking at the school board and, all those types of things. And then, of course, the next thing is, well, the kids aren't doing this, kids aren't doing that. And quite frankly, it seems like sometimes that type of non-support comes internally as opposed to externally. So what can the administrators and the parents count on as far as you in terms of that level of support and getting the message out that here's some wonderful things that are going on here in Clark County?
So you can count on me, one, to hold the superintendent accountable, because that's their responsibility to make sure that they're being a support to the administrators and teachers. And we really have not, and in the past, I'm going to say in the past with our past superintendent, there was a lack of support and guidance. For me, we have to have a superintendent who values what we value, who cares about Nevadans like we care about Nevadans. And that's one thing that the community can expect from me, is that we're going to hold the superintendent accountable to providing results. And when we're talking about achievement, I'm not saying 90% achievement rates, it's going to take time. So small time, but we just need to at least have some type of improvement.
Absolutely.
Culture and climate is absolutely a number one priority for me, because there has been a lot of complaints about, retaliation and people not feeling like they can express their concerns. And that day is over. This is not that type of situation. Everyone's voice needs to be valued and respected. And if you're a leader who cannot handle that, then you don't need to be in the position, because you're not higher than anyone else to where you can't have constructive feedback or criticism. So culture and climate is important. And I would like to see a superintendent who really gives autonomy to the principals and teachers within their schools to make the best decisions that they can for their students.
What will the search for the superintendent look like? What type of public engagement will there be? What type of input will you get from the boots on the ground, from your instructors, from your administrators? Because quite frankly, the last thing that was handled with the superintendent, it just appeared to be a disaster. And people have short memories sometimes, but that's the one thing that sort of stands out. So what will be different, when you come in that we haven't seen before from the consumer perspective?
So I may not right now. It's kind of in the air if the new superintendent, the new trustees will have an opportunity to be a part of, on the inside, internally, a part of the process of choosing the superintendent. From a community standpoint right now, the board has said that they were supposed to be doing a listening session and including the community into the conversation, and that includes the educational community, students, families, administrators, teachers. I don't think they've done that. At least I haven't heard that that's happening in this process of the search. That is absolutely vital to this whole process. And I think that's where the school board trustees become important, because they should be ensuring that this process is open to every stakeholder. Public education is taxpayer funded. So we all have a voice and a say in what is happening with education. And there should be no conversation about choosing a superintendent without students, teachers, support staff, administrators, the people who are every day going to be supervised by this individual. And I think that oftentimes, even from, as a person who's an advocate, that oftentimes we can sometimes forget that we're not the ones in the schools. We have a say as well and can support, but we need to make sure that from the community advocate standpoint, that we're uplifting the people who are in schools every day, who will have to deal with the person that is chosen. But because of special interest, everyone has a special interest in their own ideas. They want to go for the person that they like. But the person you like may not be the good person for the position, may not be the good person for the students, and may not be the person who can bring our district forward with a spirit of healing, because we need healing, and a spirit of unity. And right now, with our board that we have a 4-3 split. So the majority vote together, and our 3 who would like to go in a different direction don't have the votes to go in a different direction, which is more community oriented. We don't have a school board right now that really remembers that they were voted in by their constituents.
So is that, and this is my last question. Sorry, Dr. T. So with that's a really interesting statement. So does that mean there'll be more of the same?
More of the same. Can you clarify a little bit more of the same?
If you got that 4-3 split, and you've got one group that I'm assuming that wants to maintain the status quo, and then you've got another group that's a little more progressive, and so we got the same composition. What changes will be able to come forward in that environment if it's the same old? Okay.
So, and this is why we're in a very critical moment in the school board. Typically, people don't pay attention to education races. We have a state board education right now, Dr. Tricia Braxton, who's running. We have Nevada, we have a board of regent, Dr. Tanya Holmes Sutton, who's running. And then we have school board members in we have candidates in District A, B, C, and E. If we get at least 2 people voted in, we can be moving in a different way. And let me say, we would have a super majority. If we can get at least 3 or 4 in, we're going to have a super majority. And in my vetting of the candidates that I believe will be sufficient and we could work together, we could move in a different direction. And our votes will look more community oriented, listening to our community and bringing our people in. And here's where I am. At this point in time, we really have to I'm really serious about when it comes to this position, because I've worked really hard and I've dedicated myself. There's only one other candidate who has been at school board meetings. Like, it's just our pastime. We love it, right? And so I'm really dedicated and passionate about this work. And because of the negative experience that we've had, when and if I'm elected, I'm going to be holding those trustees accountable. So absolutely, we have Trustee Brenda Zamora and Trustee Cavazos are waiting to get people on the board so they can move us in a new transformative direction. And we need at least 2 of us to do it, to flip the votes to a majority goodwill, as I could say. We'll go in a different direction if we could at least get 2 of us on the board.
So we're talking about the trustee. So you're the candidate for District E. Can you explain to us where that is in Las Vegas, and how many schools that you will overlook?
Sure. So District E is Summerlin and a little bit towards Green Valley. And some of my did I say Green Valley? I didn't want to say. I want to say Spring Valley.
Yeah, but that's a large.
Like, no, that's not it. And some of Spring Valley, and some of my schools are Bonanza, Palo Verde, so you can kind of get an idea of where my schools are.
Mm-hmm.
I have Bonanza, Palo Verde, the Cheyenne West. I have West Technical, that's up on Charleston, and Miley Achievement Center. And I actually have District E has the lowest number of schools. So when they did districting, it seems kind of unfair. I think I have around 30 to 35 schools.
Okay. That's a big responsibility. So here's a hard question. Throughout our country, we've had some kind of dicey school board meetings, especially we have topics, CRT, the big topic about curriculum and things like that. So again, anywhere in the country, those school board meetings, people get arrested and it's not fun. So, are you prepared for that? Because you're talking about kind of changing and having a shift in the direction of the district, but there's going to be the people that like the way where everything is going. They're not going to be too happy. So are you prepared for that? And what makes you motivated? Because I know you talked about Howard, your father, and things like that. So, are you prepared for all of that?
That's a great question. So I have been a part of some of the craziness, especially with Moms for Liberty at school board meetings. Like, we shut down a meeting because the one was getting on my nerves. I don't think that, because I know the dynamics of what's happening and I've been a part of it, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to bat with anybody first. Mm-hmm. And I do have a really strong team behind me. So my hope is that the team can also get ready and understand that, listen, we are going to be in a battle because people don't want to shift and change and do things differently. I will say that I am ready for it. I've been in some heated conversations just recently with leaders in the Clark County School District, and we work through it, and a lot of times people have this idea of me. They're like, oh, she's radical, she's disruptive. Like, well, first and foremost, we can't create change in silence. Okay. And if we really want to have change and see change in our schools, we have to have some type of disruption. My hope is that my support system will be ready and willing as well. But I think I'm ready and prepared. I've gone to bat with some people, and I do say that's a little bit, it's minor. I mean, once I get into the position, it is going to elevate and it's going to increase. And I can say that as I go through those situations, I will continue to grow. I don't want to say that I've arrived and been prepared, because there's going to be things that I haven't even seen or imagined yet happen. So I'm just, keeping myself open, but knowing that if there's a fight to be had, there's a fight we will have. That's one thing I'm not scared about or afraid of, because I've been doing that. And there's times when people have not seen, you haven't seen all the fights, because not all the fights are at school board meetings.
Right.
So I would say that I'm prepared at the level that I am now, and I will continue to get more prepared as they come.
Okay.
And I am not the kind of person who, I embrace feedback, mentorship, and that's a big part of who I am. So I don't see myself going through anything alone.
Okay. So you have some fundraising activities coming up. One of my things that I have right in front of me is called Taco Tuesday, plus karaoke and game night, April 30th from 5 to 7. Can you explain that to our audience?
So Tamika Henry is running in District C, and I'm running again in District E. This is a history-making moment. We have never had 2 voting Black members on the board. So we're doing this fundraiser together just to motivate our community so that we can get and earn District E. This is history making, even though we do have some additional Black members because of the appointed board. The appointed board doesn't get to vote. So we're still in a place of history. Tamika and I will be at Mariposa doing our Taco Tuesday event. You can come out, purchase food and drinks, and then also donate to our campaigns to help us to reach more voters. Donating to our campaign is so viable because it helps us to reach more voters. We can do more phone banking. We can do texting to more people, and really helps us to get out so that we can let more people know about who we are. And especially it's important because, the leaders in our community know who we are, those who've been engaged in education, but our neighbors often have not been following what's happening in education. So it's important that we hit them up.
Okay. So that's going to be a fun event, and too bad I can't be there. I'll be in another state with my students, but
No problem.
I can do a main Michael Jackson Beat It. I think once I retire, I might have a residency at a casino. I'm really good at it. I think I'm good. So I know this is going to be a great event. So there's a question. What district is Shadow Ridge High School in? I want to say that's C. I'm looking right now, but I think that's C. Do you?
Is it C? It might. Let me see.
Okay.
It might take me too long to find it. Shadow Ridge. I would say that's like borderline C and A.
Okay.
Is it A? No, not A. B.
Okay.
Let's see. Brent. Shadow Ridge. You might be District C.
Okay. So down below, that's the link that we can send money to help your campaign down below. So how is that going? How's the fundraising going?
You know what? I want to say, we did it. The first quarter, we raised, how much did we raise? Like $6,000 the first quarter, about $6,000. To me, that's phenomenal. That's grassroots, hitting my networks. I hit up people from Howard. I hit up my family, teachers, friends, you, Dr. Marintic, I hit you up. Like, listen, I'm gonna be hitting you up a couple times. So we did I think we did a really good job because of the donations I was able to get. I was able to get signs. I've been able to get literature. I've been able to support my volunteers helping out. Now, $6,000 is not it. I need more money. So there is a self-funder in my race who loaned $73,000 to his campaign.
Oh, wow.
So you're trying to buy the seat, sir.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to do that. He doesn't even know really anything about education. He thinks that he's taking the seat from a person named Lorraine on the board. There's no Lorraine on the board. So it's important to keep giving because that's who I'm up against. I'm up against a Moms for Liberty who's in my race and a self-funder. So donations are very, very helpful because it helps me to reach more voters. I have gotten some union endorsements, so I will be reaching out to see what ways they can support me financially. My goal, since we raised $6,000 this first quarter, my goal is to at least raise $10,000 the next quarter by June, to raise $10,000 before the primary vote, which is the primary vote is June 11th. And then once we get through that, it's all hands on deck till November. So I would love to raise around $60,000 to $70,000 through the general.
Wow. Brother B, you look like you have some questions.
Oh, I was enjoying the conversation. I do kind of want to circle back to some of the operational things.
Okay.
Because one of the things, and I may have missed it, Kamilla, what is in your mind, and I know you've got to work through a process and you've got other people you have to bring on board, but what, if you could wave your magic wand and do three things, what would those three things be to get the parental involvement back to a level that you see in suburban situations?
Yeah, so I've been really, I've always been, and I am an advocate for parents, and I've given a lot of grace for parents because I understand that, you know, some parents have had a negative relationship with education themselves, which impacts how they work with their own children, which impacts their involvement with the school. But recently, I subbed at a school and the whole class was mean and rude to me, and I'm thinking, y'all, I'm not even bothering y'all. I'm confused. I was sitting there thinking, if you're able to talk to me in this way, and I love students, and you know, it is very rare for me to complain about students. And I was just sitting there listening to students. One of the kids called me ignorant. And the whole time, like, I was like, you know what? Something's happening here. I go, you're not being, you don't have parents who are parenting you. And, you know, I was like, you know what? Somebody come get him because I'm about to be on the news, about to lose my job. I'm not even going to be able to be in the running to be a trustee. And then the next day I subbed again. And one of my students, I had to call 911 because he overdosed. And I was like, we really have situations here where parents are not paying attention to their children. Right. And when I was talking to Tracy on the phone, I was like, you know what? I typically have been the person to give just a lot of grace. Big shout out and kudos to the parents who are sacrificing, doing what you're supposed to do, making sure that your students are doing their homework, they're on time for school. But not for the parents who are just dropping the ball. We got to have a serious conversation.
Well, let's get out there on the edge. Do you support criminal charges when you have serious situations where kids are being disruptive, they're bringing weapons to school, and they're doing other things that create an unsafe environment for learning? If it rises to that level and it meets all the criteria, you know, that you need to go that route, do you support that?
So you're asking me if I support criminal charges for criminal behavior, for example, like the situation that happened at El Dorado?
For example, you have a child, right, that brings a weapon to school, and it's very clear after the investigation that the parents were aware that little John had some concerns and there were some issues, and we just say, hey, that's not my problem. You know what I mean? Let's go on, you know, I got to go to work. Get on out of here, kid, and do your thing.
So for me, it would definitely have to be a case-by-case. It needs to be a case-by-case issue. Because I do believe that some parents really are not aware of what their children are doing. And I don't think that's necessarily an excuse because your child is now impacting not only themselves, but other people's in the learning environment. I do believe if it's criminal, there needs to be a consequence. But I also do believe that we should have restorative justice along with our consequences. And I had a great conversation with Ray Kennedy, who's running for Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge. And if you ever want to bring her on, I think she has a great conversation where she talks about what restorative justice is, and that really we're just not implementing it correctly. And it doesn't mean no consequences. Really, what we need to be doing is teaching our children that their decisions are how their decisions are impacting others, to help them develop empathy, so that when they're 18, they're not in her court where now she has to teach them empathy and everything like that. So I do believe it's case by case. Mm-hmm. I do believe that if the violation is egregious enough, then we have to do something to protect our students. But we also need to make sure that the person who is violating and engaging in criminal behavior, that we're providing them the support, and it's not just lock you away and then you just become a worse person because you never had the support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of support out here for the young people, and Dr. T will tell you, I always talk about the wonder drug for some of these kids, and it because when I grew up, Kamilla, we didn't have ADHD. We probably had it, but it didn't manifest itself. We didn't have folks showing out in class because they used the wonder drug, and it cured all ills. And so I'm just wondering, are numbers driving the goals and objective setting? Because it seems to me that it's a challenge for an administrator or a teacher if you know that Mike Blow every day he's treating you like those kids treated you every day, and after a while, that becomes traumatic. Mm-hmm. And PTSD is a real thing, and at some point, where do you say enough? You know what I mean? Because I agree. I think that you should absolutely have support mechanisms for young people. Everybody needs it. We've all gone off track at some point in our lives, and somebody fortunately got us back on track so that we didn't end up sitting in a jail cell somewhere. But at what point do you say enough after you have given those opportunities, after you have, done those restorative things, as you call it, to try to get little Mike back on the right track?
Yeah. So it's
yeah. And let me say that I know that, numbers impact your funding formulas and your grant submissions and your state funds and your federal funds. But at some point, you have to say, okay, Mike, you stay home because you can't act right. You cussing out the subs and you're showing out, and we're sick of it.
So I have a couple ideas around this.
Sure.
And when I've had a conversation, I think because we are having some parents who are just dropping the ball. Mm-hmm. So parents, now I'm wondering, I think this is still the case, but if the parents' children are absent from school, you can get fined. Is that still a thing, Dr. Morentic?
No.
Okay, so they don't do that anymore?
No.
Okay. So what I was thinking about, one of the solutions that I had, and I don't know how we can get this done, but if parents are dropping the ball and their children are being this disrespectful and disruptive, we have to find a way to require parents to have some type of parenting class so that they can start to feel the ramifications, feel the consequences of what's happening with their children in school. I don't know how we're going to get this done, but so if we can do finings, because I remember that was the thing, like you get fined and they wanted to do this. We have to find some way to pull these parents in when their children are being disruptive and make it a requirement that you have to do some type of parenting class to, help bring this back together. Another thing that I was thinking about is that we have quite a few of specialists in the Clark County School District. And I know the issue will be, well, we don't have funding. And I think that's the role of the leaders. The role of the leaders is to figure out how we're going to get the funding to do the work that we need to do for our students. I do believe that like the behavioral specialists and interventionists, they need to be pulled in more. Because if you're an expert in intervention and behavior, I need to see you doing more of that more deeply with students in the classroom and not like pulling students out. because you pull them out, then you put them back in, and sometimes students aren't able to really work without their interventionist until they've really been with that person for a long time. So I really do think we need to rethink how we're utilizing specialists. Listen, during the pandemic, I was like, what are they doing? What's their job? I'm like, all these reading specialists and learning specialists and behavior, what were they doing during the pandemic when everybody was virtual? So I think we need to rethink those roles, put more funding to ensure that teachers who do have more challenging classes can get more support in their classrooms. Another thing I think that actually a community member suggested that how we have dads in schools to bring moms in schools. And I think those things, because hopefully the idea is that children will respect their moms, and, want to do well for them. I think these are things that we just need to think about and find individuals who are willing to. And I don't think they should be volunteers. If we pull a mom in, they should get paid for that work. Now, if you want to volunteer, that's great. But, if we're asking people to come in and support us, they should be paid for the work that they do. And especially if we're asking them to really help us to manage and control behaviors. I do think we need to rethink those positions and how it could best benefit our students. What I'm asking will not be something that the leaders are going to be like, oh, okay, let's do it.
Sure.
Because they're going to say that funding is the issue.
That's right.
So, but my argument is the Clark County School District spent over $50 million on a program called PAPER. That $50 million could have been utilized to really hone in on well-trained staff to support student behaviors. So we have a lot of work to do around student behaviors. We need to ensure that they have the psychological and social support, not only in schools, but out of schools as well. And it's really going to take our community and our village to bring our minds together, to collaborate, to find what the best solution is for our students who are having the most challenges. But I don't think the children should not have consequences. We have to learn. I just looked at the other day, I was at a school, and I looked at every child. I looked at like 50 students' grades, and only 3 of them were A's and B's. Like only 3 students were A's and B's. Most of them had F's and B's. And I'm just thinking, your parents aren't looking at these?
Well, see, and that's my point. That's exactly the point. Obviously, I know that, again, we all have situations as grown-ups, whatever those things may be. But I think when you have a child that acted the way that you described, and I'm glad that you experienced that, because I'm sure you hear that from quite a few teachers as you're moving around town, that how do you expect me to get X, Y, and Z? I know you want test scores to do this and this to do that, but look at what I'm dealing with here. I need some help. And I think that you have some incredibly talented people working in Clark County school system, just an immense wealth of talent. And I think that just my observations, that if they have the right support and the right strategic plan that involves, from the janitor right through the principal and including Mrs. Smith, who's head of the Civic Association, I think you guys can really take it to another level. And but I am glad to see that you are aware of that, and you support those kind of consequences, and you also support giving that young person those wraparound services that they may need to be successful. So I'm glad to hear that, and certainly wish you a lot of success.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And, and I always keep it at the forefront of my mind that we're dealing with real ingrained systemic issues. If it was perfect, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, like talking about the issues that have been around not only for decades in our state, but this is a national crisis that we're experiencing. And it's, in my opinion, this is by design. The systemic structures do not want students who can critically think, who can, be problem solvers and then go out into the world and then begin to advocate for themselves. There's few of us. and this isn't to take away any glory from our administrators who are doing a fabulous job, some of them, and from our teachers who are doing a fabulous job, most of them, and from our support staff. I just think that we have a system that doesn't allow the people in it to flourish.
Well, I got to push back on you a little bit. I think that is, you talked earlier about the diaspora, and one of my professors, Dr. Ron Walters, we used to talk about that. That is a community deficiency.
Okay.
Because we have not ingrained in our young people the struggles. Because if you think about it, my grandparents, and I'm sure you had relatives and Dr. T, who you had 12th graders in the same room as first graders and kindergartners that turned out to be scientists and engineers and the like. And we have not illustrated that struggle to the point where we have passed along our appreciation and those types of passages to our young people. I mean, if we look at, for example, at our Jewish brothers and sisters who require their young people to learn those scriptures and to study that history of suffrage, and we have a history of suffrage and of achievement within that suffrage. I mean, if you start from the Middle Passage and just move on up through Jim Crow and up into where we're dealing with now, that's shame on us. And I think that we have done a terrible job of passing that along to our young people so they appreciate the fact that a lot of people sucked a lot of tear gas and were beaten with wet ropes. I remember my uncles telling me those stories. The reason that you are where you are is because I got my ass whipped in Tennessee I was beaten with wet ropes and tear gas at the same time so your ass could go to school. You know what I mean? I never forgot that. And shame on us for not carrying that torch and requiring our young people to learn that history. So I disagree. I think that is our community has tremendously dropped the ball in terms of making our young people understand, the suffering that happened so that we could have, it used to be a crime to read a poem, and now you have all these beautiful schools. The schools in Clark County are beautiful. And I just can't understand how you can't want to come to school with a book in your hand, or when you go to school, to respect you as the adult in the room and understand how important it is for me to listen to what you have to say. Yeah. That's just the gospel according to Mike Blow.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I love your gospel, Mike Blow. I think it's both and. It's both and. Like you just said it yourself, we come from a system where we were not allowed to read. So we're playing catch up. And I do agree that yes, we definitely need to make sure that our children understand the history and where our ancestors came from and the work that they did to get us here. But we for sure didn't have a system that said, hey, I'm going to give you reparations to make sure that all the years that we dismantled you and really wanted to have a genocide towards Black people and the opportunities that we took away. I do believe that we still have a system that we're still trying to remove the remnants of colonialism.
But we're not talking about it. That's the problem. Reparations can't do anything if you're not passing your history. They could give me $1 million, but if I don't tell little Mookie or Darnell or Ray Ray, whoever that kid is, this is why you're getting those reparations.
Yeah.
For this reason.
I agree with you.
Then it means nothing. It's just like, I'm going to go out and buy a big screen television. I'm going to go do something ridiculous instead of, wow, that's why I'm getting reparations because, of this and that and, just studying that history. So I think, we just got to pass the history along to our children because it's a lot of this is mental. And I don't mean a mental deficiency, is that our community as a whole, we have not planted that seed of where we came from and how we got to this point and why we have to, self-police ourselves, and we have to make sure that that no young man should ever have a teacher come in the room, especially a female teacher, because our parents were very strict about, manners and chivalry and those types of things. And we're not teaching that. You know what I mean? I watch young people on dates, and I'm watching the joker jump out the car and run into the movie and leave the young lady standing on the curb. That's parenting.
Yeah.
Reparations aren't going to fix that. That Papa has to fix that. Mama has to fix that.
I agree with you. So we have familial and we have systemic, where institutional change that is definitely needed. I agree.
Agreed. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But again, I certainly wish you success
Thank
in
you.
the race. We want to, because at the end of the day, it's just so important that our kids just have the opportunities to learn. We know that, perfection is what we're striving for, but we just want them to have the opportunity to be able to go into class and have a safe environment with qualified teachers. And you've got a tremendous group of men and women in Clark County. So they've got that. So we just want to make sure we've got people like yourself that are making sure that while Dr. T and his staff are making sure that they're getting the 3 R's, that all the other things that they don't control in terms of funding and grants and all those cool things, they're coming their way so that they can continue to get those young people, the things that they need. So good luck to you, Kamilla, and we certainly wish you very well in your course.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here today.
So I want to say a couple more things.
Okay.
Brother B, you didn't talk about the remedy. You just stated it, and maybe we could talk about that later. Also, go ahead.
The remedy is Bywaters. I always talk about that wonder drug. It's called leather on ass. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Okay, I thought it was some medicine or something.
It is.
I'm glad you clarified.
It warms your ass like nothing else.
Also, a reminder, Brother B, you're talking about the 3 R's. I got in trouble in elementary school because I said, okay, reading, writing, arithmetic. And I debated my teacher, and I got in trouble when I got home. I'm like, well, arithmetic starts with an A, and writing starts with an R. So this is wrong. We're supposed to be in school, and I got the wonder drug when I got home.
That's right.
And also, Dr. Bywaters, you talked about Miss Tracy Lewis. I just wanted to give her flowers, advocate in the wake up for the 89106 area for all students in our community. Her mother, big icon, Miss Marzette Lewis. She changed a lot of policies and procedures within the district. And so I just wanted to give them their flowers. And also, I haven't heard Jen Lee's name in a while, so thank you. She was always positive and just a great person to work with. So, all right, we're at the end. Do you want to say any last words? Because we're excited for you.
I'm excited too.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me here, and I love a good pushback. I absolutely do. My name is Kamilla Bywaters. I'm running for the Board of School Trustees in District E. I look forward for you all to share this podcast with your friends and your family, and just stay informed about who wants to represent you. There are people out here who want to represent us and don't even know like the basic foundation of the job. And we have to ensure that we stay informed. If you want to learn more about me, you can find me at my website is Kamilla4Nevadans.com. I also do a Facebook Live every Tuesday, unless I need to do a community event where you can get to just learn more about me, engage with me, have conversations. What's important for me is that the community understands I'm not here to speak for anyone. And I may not have all the answers to the questions because I believe this is a collaborative effort. And what's been missing is the voice of the community. And I want to restore that voice back to our schools. So I hope to earn your vote. If anyone wants to call me, you can call me, email me. We can go to coffee, lunch, whatever, anytime to introduce so we can, get to know me more and learn more about my ideas and values and the objectives I hope to bring to the school board.
All right.
Outstanding. Well, again, Ms. Bywaters, we really appreciate you coming out, and we really enjoyed having you on the show today. And again, we're wishing you nothing but success in your quest. And again, folks, you've heard it here on Straight No Chaser, and we just encourage you, get involved, go out here and vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, but you have to participate. Absolutely. And as you see, there are people who are trying to make change, so the choice is up to you. So on that note, we just ask you to keep allowing us to give it to you straight, no chaser, and we'll see you next time. Bye.